873-1400. And you can also email us at onair@realnews.com. I would like to speak to you for a second on what happened Wednesday when the General Accounting Office Comptroller General, David Walker, spoke before a Senate Appropriations Committee. During the Senate Appropriations Committee hearing today on waste, fraud, and abuse in Iraq, the GAO Comptroller, David Walker, said that the Iraqis have a budget surplus which is not being spent. He added that oil revenues are going up, and therefore one of the questions regarding Iraq reconstruction is who should be paying. Citing Iraq's rise in oil revenues and the fact that the U.S. has already spent $45 billion rebuilding the country, Senator Patrick Leahy said that instead of President Bush asking for billions and billions more to rebuild Iraq, the Iraqis ought to be able to use some of their oil to pay for their own costs and not keep sending the bill to the American citizens of the United States. Meanwhile, U.S. tax money is ending up in the hands of sectarian militias in Iraq. Later in the same hearing, Walker confirmed that a significant amount of what the U.S. spends on Iraq contracts is being diverted to the Sunni and Shiite militias. Stuart Bowen, Special Inspector General for Iraq Reconstruction, agreed, adding that it is a significant problem. Now, this just happened to be the last day for David Walker. He resigned earlier in February, and this was the last day of him being General Comptroller of the United States government. So listen, this is very significant. David Walker is saying that your tax money is funding the Sunnis and the Shiites and the U.S. government military. So we're paying for all three sides. Incredible. This was Wednesday of this week, his last day in office, so he used the opportunity to tell the truth on how our money is squandered. I just find that mind-boggling. Every week we're going to have a portion of the show called Brian's Blog, and he's going to tell us a few points that's of interest to him. And again, 873-1400, if you'd like to call in, we'd like to hear from you. We will be having Mr. Dacus on around 11:20, so go ahead, Brian. I'd like to hear what you got to say.
Thanks, Barron. A new week, a new low for the dollar. The dollar this week continued its precipitous decline, falling even faster than that of President Bush's approval rating. The dollar stumbled again Friday, falling yet to another all-time low against the euro, a 12-and-a-half-year low against the yen, and historic low against numerous other currencies. On Thursday, gold futures surpassed a psychologically key level of $1,000 an ounce for the very first time, closing Friday on the New York Mercantile Exchange at $999.50. This, of course, is driven by a flight to quality and gold's unrelenting surge forward as investors are seeking shelter from inflation and highly unstable financial markets. Earlier in the week, when questioned about the dollar, White House Press Secretary Dana Perino told reporters that she was not allowed to talk about the dollar.
We're going to go to a soundbite on that, Brian?
Yes, let's roll that.
Here, what OPEC says, the reason for $105 or $106 a barrel oil is the falling value of the dollar, and you won't address that issue. Where do we go to find out who's right?
Well, as he just said, the Treasury Secretary is where you go to talk about the dollar. It's a long-standing policy that predates this administration, and I'm not going to change it today. But Treasury can talk about it.
I don't expect you to change it, but I do expect you to be able to say whether OPEC is completely wrong about this, or whether there is at least something to their claim that the dollar is responsible for high-priced oil right now.
Wendell, I'm under strict instructions and have been from the beginning to not talk about the dollar, and I'm not going to get fired to satisfy your question.
I expect that.
Simply unbelievable.
She won't have any more dollars if she comments on the dollar. And when do you ever see a press conference with the Secretary of the Treasury to address this kind of problem? I mean, I guess it's possible, but I can't remember the last time I ever saw a press conference with the Secretary of the Treasury. And the White House press secretary can't address this huge situation that's affecting every American citizen. We're going to go to a break. When we come back, we're going to have Brad Dacus from the Pacific Justice Institute was going to be telling us about his work and what he's involved with. And you can also call in and address Mr. Dacus yourself, so feel free to get involved. And it's Real News. We'll be back here after a break.
When it comes to when you should change your
I'm honored to have you on our program, Mr. Dacus. I believe you're a real patriot in the fight for freedom in America, and I would like to give you this opportunity to tell the listeners about your organization and what is happening at the present.
Oh, you bet. Well, we at the Pacific Justice Institute are a nonprofit 501c3 legal organization, and we're very unique in that last year we handled over 3,000 requests for assistance defending faith, family, and freedom. Every one of them was without charge, and we had roughly 1,000 volunteer affiliate attorneys nationwide willing to go head-to-head against the ACLU and other groups like that who are attacking family and faith.
Wow, that is excellent. I had no idea it was that huge. I know in California you've had a court of appeals that has ruled against families being able to homeschool, and I know here in North Carolina we do have a lot of families that homeschool, and I found that just appalling. I was hoping that maybe we could address that some today, and you could tell us what's going on, because I really commend you in your fight for freedom, because we need someone standing up against the oppression that unfortunately is being directed upon us.
Oh, absolutely. It's really very outrageous what's taking place here in California, and there's a reason 80% of our cases are actually based here in California because of these kinds of decisions. Here's what happened. The family was homeschooling, and a superior social worker challenged the parents after one of the children had run away from home and said, "Hey, wait a minute, you guys are homeschooling." The parents said, "Yeah, well, we have 8 children, we're homeschooling." He said, "Well, that's illegal, you can't homeschool. You have to have a child in a public school." And so it went before a superior court, which the superior court in California is like low court, okay? And this low court said, the judge says, no, parents have a fundamental right to their kids' education. They have a fundamental right to homeschool. So long as they're providing a bona fide education, that's it, case closed. And then it went on appeal to this second appellate district. This 3-judge panel ruled that not only is homeschooling illegal they were actually in a private school independent study program, okay? They said not only is that illegal, they said that it's also illegal for parents who homeschool on their own private school started, private school affidavit, or even the charter school program, which is a part of the public school program, is illegal. They just said all homeschooling is illegal in California unless you are a credentialed teacher. Well, that's 99%, over 90% of those homeschooling in California, based on the decision, are breaking the law. And what's really terrible is the penalties. We're looking at not only fines and also potentially required counseling by the state, okay, which is indoctrination programming, but it really is. But also, if the parents do not comply, under California law, they can have their children permanently removed and never seen again.
Wow.
Under the guise of educational neglect, which we have in California. Fortunately, North Carolina always has that. But California does.
So if a parent continues wanting to have the freedom to homeschool their children, their social services could actually take their children away from them. That's what you're saying?
Oh, absolutely. And in fact, let's say that they're determined that they're engaging in educational neglect, and so they're trying to take the kids away, but the parents, manage to escape, outside the border of California into, say, the North Carolina